Hey everybody, welcome to the No Ordinary Obsession podcast. Tonight is episode 20-something. We lost track, and I'm not going to edit that later, because that's the kind of show we are. With me tonight, I have Rob.
Good evening.
Zach.
Hello.
Mike.
Hi.
And tonight we have Adam with us.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome, Adam.
Thank
I
you.
am Jared, the host, hostess with the mostess. Is that how it goes? That's how it's going now.
It's probably a little more fitting.
Yeah, well, I am drinking like a diet soda, so it makes sense. So tonight we're going to go for... We just talked about this too, and I'm already forgetting. Talking about sequels. Things that we wanted to see, things that we can't unsee, different games. So
Sequels to games specifically, Jared.
yeah, well, I said different games. I said games eventually in there. This is why editing software exists, but I'm not using it. All right, so Mike, your brainchild, start us off.
Oh, okay. So there's a bunch of games that came out in the 90s which I wish had had sequels. And then you caught me off guard.
Even though you were clearly talking about this before.
This whole concept for a show was your idea, and you're sitting here playing a game on your tablet.
Right. Anyway, Earthbound. We never got a sequel to Earthbound. It was an innovative, unique RPG which was funny and made fun of itself. And it was probably like one of the few RPGs at that time that didn't get a sequel, and we never got a sequel.
I never played Earthbound.
I did. It was actually pretty cool. It was pretty unique, especially that early on. There weren't really much to go with over there. Brought characters to light, give them like personalities and stuff. And, I mean, they were all kids. And back then, when you were playing them, you were probably a kid too. So, you know, could relate.
But there was that tongue-in-cheek humor, there was the potty humor,
Yeah.
which wasn't really common in
I
games
mean,
then.
you had a character named Pooh.
So that was like a pretty big deal. Like it was kind of like out there, you know. And also like the games like Final Fantasy, what used to be Final Fantasy 3, which was actually Final Fantasy 6.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a Final Fantasy game which, if it got a sequel, it would have done like It could have done something real for the story, you know. Really could
I
have
would just like to
enhanced-
point out that Earthbound, I mean, at least he was brought back in Smash Brothers. No?
It's not a sequel.
No, it's not a sequel.
That doesn't
but
count.
At least the character was brought back, though.
Yeah,
so.
but it doesn't really do... Like, you beat the crap out of people, you know?
So somebody bought
There's
the
no,
license.
there's no story behind Ness and all those characters.
No, not technically a sequel, but the character was brought back at least.
Yeah, I guess. If you do
I was a
that,
big
then-
Smash Brothers fan, so I
So
have
am
to,
I,
like,
but if you do that, a whole bunch of other characters have seen something somewhere down the line, just not necessarily the way we wanted it to happen.
Well, exactly. Isn't that kind of what we're talking about here?
Well, he brought up Final Fantasy VII. Everyone wants to see a sequel. When they released
No.
when they released the PlayStation 3, the first videos they showed were Final Fantasy VII. And then they throw out a movie, and they just throw characters in games, and that's about it.
Well, you can't have a sequel to Final Fantasy because Final Fantasy is the last epic of that generation. So
Except
to have
then-
a sequel to Final Fantasy would be utterly ridiculous. I'm sure they're never going to make that mistake.
We'll come to Final Fantasy X2 soon enough, my friend.
But I don't know. I think Final Fantasy VII was a complete storyline. And so having a sequel to a game like that would be, overkill.
You and fanboys are the only ones who think it's a complete storyline. Everyone else thinks it doesn't make any sense.
Well, the game's very hard to follow. I'll give you that. It gets very convoluted, but when you play it 9 or 10 times through, you know the story pretty well.
Oh yeah, there was nowhere to make a sequel. That's why they released a movie that continued from the game.
Everyone should have been dead.
Everyone should just die at the end.
Everyone should have died at the end.
Some games have done that in recent times. We'll talk about those sequels soon.
Wait, when we say sequel, first of all, are we talking about games that follow all, like, say, that follow from the ending of the first game, or are we just
Direct
saying
descendants
again?
of the game before.
Okay, so the game has to reference the previous game.
Yeah, the storylines have to be
Or
continual.
if it's a prequel, it has to be referenced in other
Yeah,
the
like
game.
Shining Force barely qualifies because Shining Force 1 and 2, the story connection there was like separated by like 200
Jared's like, "You're
years.
talking about
2,000
games."
years.
2,000 years. The only connection was that it was the same bad guy, and both heroes were named Max.
That's just a default name. You can change the name. It doesn't count. No, I think...
Okay, for viewers or listeners unfamiliar with
Viewers too, YouTube, eventually.
okay, whatever.
They don't
Unfamiliar
wanna
with
see
the Shining Force series,
I don't
it's
wanna
probably
see us.
the first two games are probably two of the best tactical RPGs
Wait,
ever made.
time out. When you say the first two Shining Force games, you mean Shining in the Darkness and Shining Force 1, or Shining Force 1 and Shining Force 2?
Shining Force 1 and Shining Force 2. Shining in
Okay.
the Darkness was almost the same game as Shining Force 1.
Almost, but it was a different game, just the same...
They added like 4 levels.
No, it's a totally different game. It's the same mechanics and same, like, animations.
The story is almost identical.
Yeah, it's an
It's
age-old...
almost like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
Yes,
Those were
that's
completely
probably the most...
different movies.
No, but that's... Okay, Rob, we'll get there. But no, that's what you just said is probably the most accurate representation of Shining Force that I've ever heard. Bravo.
Thank you. But Shining Force 1, or the other one, number 1,
Shining in the Darkness.
Shining in the Darkness, and Shining Force 2 are great tactical RPGs, which allowed you to take on the role of a hero as he led his party against a evil devil trying to destroy the world. There's always someone trying to destroy the world in Japanese RPGs.
Yeah.
But it was great because there was a lot of character development and a lot of strategy, and they also had a class system already, which was fun.
And well, Shining Force 2 didn't stray too far away from that in the fact that the classes were very similar, the leveling system was the same, the endless grind was the same, and the world itself was the same world, just later on in history.
There was no grinding in Shining Force. All the battles were prefabbed.
You never actually gained levels by grinding in that game?
No, that's a waste of time. You beat the game without doing that.
Yeah, but it's so much more fun when you're like 1,000 levels and you have a
forget
lightning storm.
Jared's
And
the kind of person that will grind in a game that doesn't require grinding.
yeah, I'll grind in Tetris, yo. I'll find a way.
Hey, this isn't Final Fantasy VIII. There's no reason to actually do it.
Well, in Final Fantasy games, you grind or you die. That's just how it is.
Yeah. At Final Fantasy VIII, it's too late to go back once it's absolutely necessary. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so any other games that needed sequels? Peanut Gallery?
Boy.
Games that needed sequels?
Yeah, that we wanted sequels for. I mean, I had a whole thing in my head, and then you asked me a question, my brain kind of shut down.
God. I don't know. There are a lot of games that I didn't want to see sequels to. There surprisingly aren't many games that I do want to see more versions of.
All right, let's start with the Hate Machine.
No, I'm getting back to games that I would rather see. I mean, not that there wasn't a sequel of it already. It's just that they deviated from a formula that worked.
Okay.
I mean, like, I personally, going back to something we've talked about previously, but I was a huge fan of the Fallout series.
Okay.
Back when Fallout 1, Fallout 2 came out.
Fallout.
But then
Every
they-
show you mention Fallout once.
I have not.
And
but-
that's like Mike with Kickstarter.
So,
By the way,
So Fallout 2 came out, and then they went to Fallout Tactics, which was a completely different game altogether, which kind of killed the whole series at that point. But if they had continued in the same vein as Fallout 1, Fallout 2, they could have had more of an ongoing series. There was plenty of room with the storyline and the setting, basically, to continue going forward with it. I think there's probably other examples out there, too, where they did do successful sequels and then deviated from a working formula.
yeah, it's called Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
You know what? I think I changed my answer. There is actually a game that I wanted to see another sequel to, and I didn't.
What game?
Knights of the Old Republic. I thought 1 was great, 2 was different, but I still liked it. But I'd like to see them make more of that game. Even though they already made the MMO, and that's where they're focusing their energy, I would rather see it in the format it was already in.
You don't consider the MMO kind of a sequel to that game?
Not really. I think it was a perversion of that game. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the MMO, but the fact that I have to interact with other human beings kind of kills it for me.
I can see that.
Yeah. Actually, I'm a big fan of all those types of games. Like anything BioWare made that's single player, basically. I think I'm just a BioWare fanboy at heart. I think that's really what it is.
It's possible.
I like the fact that they're the first ones who I feel really did a good job bringing the D20 system into video games, and so now I understood the mechanics of every game they had. So I know how to manipulate the system and min-max my character and pull a Rob and just destroy the world.
And not gonna have any consequences for it.
Yeah. He's just, I can have a character with a 20 dex and a 20 strength and tear everything up and still have, invincible armor and be a slick talker and whatever the hell else you want to do because it's just the options are built in.
Yeah, I have a problem, though. I always try to make balanced characters no matter what.
But in certain video games like that, there's no point in having a balanced character because all it's going to do is screw you stat-wise, and then you have the options you were going to have anyway. It's rare that your charisma actually influences a game's options, which
Sure.
it really should. It should be a huge influence in the game, and I never see it.
That was more so back when you had your text-based kind of role-playing games, where you had the various text options to choose from in going forward in the storyline, where your charisma would actually modify how many different options that you got, or which options it was that you got in the first
I haven't
place.
seen that since Sega. That's the last time I remember seeing. I think Phantasy Star was like the last time I saw
on the
something like that.
PC, I mean, going back to your whole D20 system and all, I mean, your
Baldur's
games,
Gate.
Baldur's Gate,
Baldur's
Icewind Dale,
Gate.
that whole series, all those Dungeons and Dragons based games, those were all text-based, charisma-based, affected your dialogue options.
You know what? I've got to give up one of my nerd cards because I still haven't played the Baldur's Gate series on PC. Next time it goes on sale,
No, wait.
I promise.
Yes, that
next
was a
time,
sigh.
next time it goes on sale, I promise I will buy
It
and
is a
play the whole
remastered
series.
edition of it.
Is it cheap? Is it 75% off on Steam?
Yeah, no.
Good
That's when I'll
old
get it.
games actually for the holidays. You missed it already though. For the holidays, good old games had a really good sale going on it.
Yeah.
You could buy the entire Dungeons and Dragons suite, which was like all the Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and Planescape and everything for like $25 or something like that.
Yeah. If anybody out there ever wants to buy something for cheap, ask Rob. He is the best shopper I've ever met in my life.
Rob, what's your No Ordinary Obsession email address?
Kesdrix. You probably don't ever see my name on there, really, but Kesdrix at No Ordinary Obsession if you have a specific question and how to get a good deal on something.
And for those of us that only speak English, how would you spell Kesdrix?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a made-up name. I forgot about that. Kezzzdrix.
All right.
Just the name that I've used forever and ever.
He's a nerd.
Yeah. I've been using it since AOL, 3.0?
3.0.
Yeah, no joke, dude. No joke. It's been that long.
AOL 3, IRC chats.
Come on, I know
Yeah.
we all got one of those names that we hold on to for a really long time.
No,
still
actually,
use
2
it.
years ago, not even 2 years ago, maybe last year, I officially killed my original internet alias. I deleted him. I erased all memories and knowledge of
What
him.
was it?
Hack UK1. I had a GeoCities account with that. I think most people listening won't even know what GeoCities is at this point.
Does GeoCities even exist?
No, it's officially gone.
Yeah.
They turned the servers off.
Like Angel Fire?
Like Angel Fire. No, this one lasted a long time though because it got bought out by Yahoo, and they just kind of hung on to it and let it sit in the closet. In fact, it's what Jay's website was on for that main game that he ran for us.
Really?
That was on. So that whole thing is gone now.
That sucks.
The last transcript of that game, I think, was in the back of my car somewhere when I got rid of it.
Oh, well. Well, I have ADHD, so I've used numerous internet aliases over the years. My most recent is Salient Mind, but there's been Sunny, and then there's been Dissonance Society.
You've had a lot.
I've had a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
through
it's
a lot
always
of
crap
different
that's hard to spell.
Yeah,
Who knows how to spell dissidence?
I do.
That's the one that matters.
That's why you haven't got any emails there.
What, Salient? Salient's easy to spell.
When you gave me that email address for the first time, I was like, mine's my name. You could do something similar. I don't know how to spell these words.
Salient.
Like saline, like the solution.
No.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Like the...
No.
off the top of my head. Not with the activity we've been doing tonight.
Oh man, kill some brain cells.
Salient is the ability, is the movement of a thing quickly from one thing to another.
So quick mind.
Yes, or ADHD.
Actually, when I was on AOL still, I don't know how it happened, but one day I decided to make a new screen name, and I actually got Zero Cool as my screen name. I had that for a while.
You were the coolest person I've ever met in my life.
I totally was for until I canceled AOL, and then it went away. I lost my coolness, all zero of it.
All zero
All
of it?
zero of it.
Zeroed out.
Negative cool.
Negative.
Mike, I didn't think you were right there, but I'm sorry. I just pulled it up my phone. Salient does not mean that whatsoever.
Excellent.
It might be the name that you use, and that might be what you choose to have it mean, but it apparently is an adjective which is most noticeable or important. The salient points of the case are used as a noun, a piece of land or section of fortification that juts out from an angle.
Mike juts out at an angle.
I definitely jut out as an angle.
So from this
least one
day
of them.
forward, we shall dub Mike Jut. Your name is Jut.
Oh, I don't need another name. I have too many.
Jut at noordinaryobsession.com.
I am Jut.
And then we'll just start pronouncing it Jute for no reason, because none of us can pronounce words like
Then we'll all
ominous.
just forget we were calling
Now I
him
feel
Jet.
really bad. I need to figure out where I got that from. No, I'm pretty sure that's true.
What?
I'm just going to change the meaning of the word.
Google is wrong?
Let's make shit
Are
up
you
as we
saying
go
that
along.
Google is wrong?
All we have to do is
Yeah,
go,
sure.
to, go to Wikipedia
Just change the
Change
and
it.
change the meaning.
Everyone will know what our definition of the word is.
We'll get a few thousand people to change it. We're good to go.
All right, you hear that, fans out there? Go to Wikipedia, change salient.
We can't even get them to send us an email. We're not going to get them on Wikipedia.
I bet none of them speak English. I'm convinced they're all in foreign countries who are trying to use us.
Actually, we're getting a lot from like Germany and Australia. That seems to be a lot of our
Germany and Australia are
Yeah.
listening to us.
yeah.
Wow.
And what is the country code CN?
Canada, I think.
It is. I thought
Yeah, it's
was-
Canada.
for some reason, I always think CA because Canada,
No.
but no CN. So yeah, we get a lot from Canada too.
Wow.
Hey,
Not anymore.
Now you just lost all the Canadians.
5 of them.
Quick, talk about hockey.
what are they mad about? Oh, I love Canada. Wish we were in it.
Yeah, I want to go to Montreal next year. Anyway, does anyone else have any games other than me they wish they had sequels to?
Well, I don't know if they ever did make a sequel to it or not, but do you remember the game for NES and probably for Sega at some point called Archon? It was a chess game. You'd actually like play chess, and then when the players got to each other's squares, you'd fight, like actually break into a new screen and have a fight over the square, and then whoever won that fight actually gets it.
You know, they didn't. I don't think they made a sequel to that, but they did something like that in one of the more recent Mortal Kombat games. They actually had a chess game. I can't remember which Mortal Kombat game it was, but they had a chess game where the pawns were all one character and each piece was a character, and you got to choose the characters, and they would move just like chess pieces, but if you ever occupied the same square as another chess piece, in order to take that square, you had to have a fight. Mortal Kombat fight, 1 round to take the square.
See, that's awesome. I like when they mix things with chess because then I might actually have a chance of winning chess. I'm so
Well,
bad
you
at
have
chess.
to be good at fighting games.
They should make a sequel
Yeah.
to chess.
Yeah, as long as you're good at a fighting game, then you're going to win in the chess game.
Oh yeah, totally.
Pretty sure there weren't a lot of people playing it, considering it was a fighting game that made them think.
Made them think of what? Where to fight? That's
Pretty
the only-
much.
What square do I want to fight in now?
I've never
That
had to
one.
think about that before. I just had to press buttons and.
Press B
Fight.
really fast.
Hell, with that game, a pawn could win everything.
Yes, it could.
Technically, yes. Unless, of course, the pawns are all like Johnny Cage and the other ones are like Goro.
Well, unless it was more than one lateral space to the left or right. Right? No.
They all
Chess?
had the same. movement
Yeah,
as regular-
technically you still can't. But yeah, if they don't restrict you to the actual chess moves, they're just playing Mortal Kombat on a chessboard.
Well, it was the chess moves. It's just that technically you could never. If you were that good, you could never lose a piece.
This is true. Also involving chess, Shining Force.
Yes.
There was that battle in Shining Force.
And that was so annoying.
That's the one that if you didn't grind would take forever. If you did grind, do you know how to grind in Shining Force? I'm gonna tell you how to grind in Shining Force.
Oh, please don't.
You play through a match and you always know who the leader is. You don't kill the leader. Right before killing him, you egress. Heal everybody. Go back to the battle. You keep all your experience points and you go and murder them
I
again.
did that when I wanted a level, or I was trying to get someone promoted. But
I did that when I was trying to get to the chessboard because I would always get my ass handed to me in the chessboard. All right, let's just break right into the hate machine, as Mike put it, because I'm sure there are a lot more games that people hate. Zach's already raising his hand. That there's probably a lot more games that we can hate on
Wants to speak now.
instead of us having a proactive conversation. So, Zach, you can start us off on that. What do you hate?
Name the one game that everyone's going to say, yes, we hate it. It's called Duke Nukem Forever.
Ugh.
The game that people
You
waited
guys make
forever to come out.
And yes, waited forever, and then all of a sudden realized, oh wait, this sucks.
This is horrible.
Yes. That was just
Duke
terrible
Nukem
jokes.
3D was such a good game.
Wow.
It was. Come on, it was fun. Pipe bombs
People
and
play games for fun.
come
I thought
on.
games give me sustenance.
It
That's
was-
why I survived.
But granted, that was back in the days of dial-up modems and having to connect to each other, computer to computer. And it was a pain in the ass to try and get those games together. But when you actually finally got first-person shoot 'em up with pipe bombs and strippers and all sorts of good stuff going on, come on, that was a good game for back at our age, middle school at the time.
Middle school strippers. Yes.
And now they're like, games are too violent.
Games too violent. There's so much sex in the industry. Shut up.
We probably should do a show about violence in media.
Probably.
That just seems like the responsible thing to do.
So we can sound like the news.
Well, no.
No, really,
No.
the news be like, there's a video game. There's sex in it. Let's ban it. We don't even know what the game's really about.
There's violence. There's killing.
I like to. Do you remember when the news was going up against Mass Effect, the first one?
No.
And they were Fox had this big thing against
Well,
Mass Effect, the
right
first
there.
one that came out.
I
And they
remember
were
it.
talking about they're making up all this shit you could do in the game that you couldn't actually do. And
You could
It's
rape
Fox.
the baby Jesus if you press
They
Y
make
3
up their own
times.
news.
Yeah, Fox does have a history of just making shit up.
this game has sodomy in it. It's like, no, Fox, no, it doesn't.
They're promoting the gay agenda. There's a guy. He's not married.
Just like the Health Care Act was stricken down. Sorry.
Politics. Politics has no place in gaming. Unless you're playing a
thing.
political campaign.
Let's play Iron Heroes.
Or A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, that's...
All right, so Zach had one. Who else has something that they fucking hated that made it was a sequel?
You know what? Chrono Cross would have been a great game if it wasn't a sequel.
I've never even given it a try, just simply because I adored Chrono Trigger so much, and I just said, "There's no way this is a sequel. I don't even care about it."
The music of Chrono Cross was really good. The initial storyline was really good. But the moment they started bringing in elements of Chrono Trigger, like old characters and stuff, went right down tubes. If it was a spiritual successor rather than an actual successor, it would have been a fantastic game. But they tried doing too much with it.
Oh, man. I'm going to go ahead and say, and I'm not even going to bring up Final Fantasy. I'm not going to talk about how Final Fantasy X was terrible and how X-2 was terrible and how,
bring
10,
it
3,
up.
4, 5. I feel like it's shooting fish in a barrel. Okay? So I want to try to think about a better game than that. I probably can't, but I want to.
Can we just say that at least this much, they should not have continued any Final Fantasy game? As far as Final Fantasy goes, if you don't already know the story behind it, just in general, Squaresoft had a last chance to make a game back when they were releasing Final Fantasy. They only had one chance to make a game, otherwise they were going out of business. So they decided to put together this game, Final Fantasy, and they dubbed it Final Fantasy because it was their last shot. That's why the story had an ending, and it was never intended to continue. Mm-hmm. Everyone loved it. Because everyone loved it, they never went out of business, and they needed to find a way to keep that legacy going, so they continued to make Final Fantasy games with a beginning and an end. Why suddenly break that at 10 and decide to make a completely different game with the Final Fantasy label on it and still label it 10?
Because
But they did
someone's a
okay
dick.
until 9. 9 was the drawing, the line where it was no longer okay. 8 was 9 was pretty good, and 10 years this is not okay.
Exactly why they should have never made a 10-2, and they shouldn't have continued any Final Fantasy game.
But you know what? Idols are very popular in Japan, and you make it so your characters are, can change clothing outfits and sing songs and dance and otaku eat it up.
Or even more so, why even make an MMO? Final Fantasy 11 MMO.
They made 2 MMOs.
Yes, they did.
I don't know why.
And how successful are those?
See, I wanted to
What
avoid
game?
this because it makes me
Final
sad.
Fantasy, they did Final Fantasy 11 as an MMO.
I know, I gotcha.
I was trying to be funny.
It doesn't exist in Rob's universe. I wish I was in your universe, Rob. I really do.
I tried it once, was no good.
So let's see. Zork, I think, had a sequel.
I didn't know.
What?
I'm pretty sure it did.
Wow, I'm good at blocking these things out.
This is
Deja
why he
Vu.
can't even speak about what sequels he didn't want to see.
Deja Vu had a sequel called Deja Vu 2. I wasn't a fan of that
They
one.
probably should have just called it Deja Vu.
Right? That would have been
Deja vu all over again.
It was probably something with the, I don't know, copyright law. Who knows? Let's
Toe
see.
Jam and Earl's sequel was not nearly as good as the first.
Toe Jam and Earl sequel was terrible because they turned it to a side scroller.
Yeah,
Toe Jam and Earl was not a side scroller. It
No,
was
it was
a
a top-
three-quarter top-down adventure game.
exactly.
But it did have great sound effects, that game.
It was funny. It was still funny, but it was not
Actually,
nearly as good as the first one.
I actually still have it. It's above us on the rack of the rack of retired gaming systems up above us. Yeah, it's right above your head.
No, I know. I'm thinking. That's me looking upwards as that you can't smell the smoke.
No, I can't. I'm too far away.
Hey, call me a classic, but I think that Pokemon should have stopped with red and blue. Quite frankly.
Well, here's my problem with the Pokemon sequels. There weren't any. They were the same game. And I don't mean it was a similar game. No, they took the exact same programming, changed the color of the case, and maybe changed the name of a couple of the Pokemon. But you started out in the same fucking town every time. And I played every one of those games on Game Boy.
I think they kind of almost did the same thing like Final Fantasy did. Each game was different to a point where there, you would see common elements. Just like in the Final Fantasy games, you would have monsters that were seemingly the same, so forth. But that kind of went all the way up until recently, where they did Pokemon Black and White, and then they did Pokemon Black and White 2.
But I mean, they used the exact same. You can put the cartridge in, start playing, take it out, put another cartridge in, start playing, and forget which game you were playing. Because it's literally the same code. They just copy and pasted a game and sold it as new for $50.
And everyone bought it.
They made a mint.
But you got new Pokemon though.
Not at
And you
first,
needed-
actually.
you
Not
needed-
until the end of
Shut
the
up.
game.
You needed the both different colors in order to be able to get them.
No.
Rob,
I'm not talking
you
blue
have
and
played this
red.
for a while, haven't you?
No. I'm saying.
You're speaking of it from experience, aren't you?
Dude, I had all of them.
No.
All what? All
Right.
Pokemon?
Yeah.
Rob. More. No, I'm
Like
saying.
you have black and white?
Well, no. I mean, back in days of blue and red.
Yeah. I'm saying stop with the 150 and leave it. Or 151, whatever.
Yeah.
And leave it there.
151.
Don't make any more. And what they do?
They're still selling.
They made more.
No, I was there.
Well, yeah,
at
There's
that-
new
they-
generations
yes.
of kids that they need to play with these Pokemon.
to
No,
corrupt.
they do, and
There's
the
new
kids-
generation of
The
plague.
new
that needs
generation
to
of
have
gamers
kids
But then,
really loves
but then
Pokemon.
you could take
No,
it. You
they
could take your
definitely
save
did.
game file and bring it into the what was it, the N64 at the time,
Yeah.
and then
Yes,
you could
play
then you
Pokemon
could
Arena.
and then you could play in the arena.
He's so happy right now.
Yeah.
I wish you could all see his face.
Now that we're talking about Pokemon and we were talking about sequels, not really a sequel, but Pokemon Snap. Really?
Oh,
Oh my
Jesus.
god.
That was...
We're gonna make 3D Pokemon for the first time ever, and all you can do is take pictures.
It's kind of like some sort of like, it's almost like the beach volleyball Dead or Alive, where you can take pictures of the girls, but
Oh,
with
Jesus.
Pokemon.
You love
Well, some people like women. Some people like weirdly shaped animals.
Work the camera. Love the camera.
I missed something.
Be the camera.
Why are you whispering about cameras?
He's talking about being the camera.
Pokemon
guys.
Snap is what he's referring to.
Yes.
Okay, I don't think I have Pokemon Snap in here.
That creeped me out.
Just
saying.
Let me just fix this microphone because it's like falling all over the place. This is gonna be loud and obnoxious. It's really irritating me. It's not even my microphone.
Great.
I'm watching Adam like struggle with this thing as it falls up and down.
I'm not struggling. I'm just placing it back every time.
We're immature.
What are we, 12?
Number 2.
Maybe. I'm talking about
Let's clear my
Pokemon,
throat.
for God's sakes.
That's true. We're talking about poop, Pokemon, boobs.
Boobies.
All right, guys, we're gonna retitle this Weird 12. That's what we're gonna retitle this show now.
Isn't that like?
But speaking of, we spoke about Bioware earlier. We can't like talk about this without talking about the travesty, which was the ending of Mass Effect 3.
All right, so let me start by saying I didn't finish Mass Effect 3 because you finished your thesis and took it back.
Yes.
But I was told what happened. Which I think someone died or some shit. Shepard, I think.
Shepard dies.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. A year later.
If you haven't already.
If you haven't finished it by now, fuck you.
Shepard dies, but you get to choose basically the entirety of the game. The decision of whether or not you win or lose the war comes down to one of 3 choices, which are color-coded.
Color choices?
Color choices.
Like cut the green wire, cut the blue wire?
Kind of. It was like choosing like the
Black
I forget
or
what
white.
color the lights were, but choosing different color lights. So you have all those war assets and all this other shit that they build into the game, which they build up and they build up and they build up as being such a huge, important thing, and it comes down to 3 color choices. So it's not only that the story itself, part of it, kind of sucks, because like it just falls flat compared to the emotional impact of the rest of the game. It's that all this work you've put into the game, and all this work you've put into all the games, really doesn't mean anything.
Wait, hang on. I'm having a hard time following what you're saying here. When I was playing that game, and I was spending all that time on the side missions and getting allies and collecting equipment and, saving planets and spending hours and hours and hours of my life not doing anything productive, it really wasn't productive.
It really wasn't productive even in
It
game.
didn't matter to the game.
Not really.
Not mechanically, not
There-
story-wise.
There are some impacts it has, but the impact you want it to have, the decision of whether or not the Reapers win or not, what they build it up to mean, the promise of what all that work means for your story.
So it's
all
kind
your choices mean for your
It's
story.
kind of like the Dragon Age game then. If you can beat the last boss on your own, you don't need the other armies. So I think we're seeing a
Spoiler.
pattern now.
Yeah.
At least your choices had
No.
impact at some point of the game. Have anybody
Yes.
played X-Men Destiny? That was horrible.
I make it a point not to play anything with the name X-Men in it anymore.
Well, the X-Men games going all the way up to before that weren't so bad. They have a long history of them. But this one, you're not even playing as an X-Men. You're playing as some person who just discovers their mutant powers. And they give you choices to make throughout the game, but they do absolutely nothing. If you make a certain choice, each time you play the game again, you make a different choice. The same thing happens, no matter what. No matter what, you're forced to fight Wolverine. No matter what, you fight Magneto. Everything is the same.
That's really frustrating.
Why give me choices if nothing happens?
But I think the thing is, I think the expectation of BioWare, because they've been so good about it in the past, the expectation they set up is that your choices do matter.
Yeah.
So even if they don't, at least they're making you think that you're playing
I mean,
a game like that.
That reminds me
You
of
feel
another game
important.
that I've seen. I think it was called The United States Government.
Where you always lose.
Politics.
Oh,
Why are we bringing
ouch.
this up again?
Boom.
Congress, you're a joke.
Got you. Haha. Burn.
We might
I'm still
have
paying
to
my
go
taxes,
to Canada
though.
after this.
What? Well, us and the other 92% of America who doesn't approve of them.
Aren't they officially less popular than lice by now?
I don't know if there's actually a poll for that.
I'm pretty sure.
There should
There's
be
a poll for everything.
Rob, you want to go to the Pew Research site and see if there's a poll for that?
If he searches it once, there will be.
There's
Well,
also gonna
someone's
Google will
asking
get
about
on that real
lice.
quick.
Let's get out there, guys. Mike, you don't have to worry about that. On account
That's
of
right.
on account of the baldness.
You know what? Soon enough, Rob and Zach won't have to worry about that either.
Nice.
I'm sorry to say, you either, buddy.
I'm good.
I'm the only one with hair. You know why? Because you guys have testosterone. that kills hair follicles. I don't gotta
does.
worry about that shit.
Oh, you're such a girl.
I haven't hit puberty yet.
I hate you sometimes.
Back to 12.
Boom, I'm 12 again.
Jared actually
Cacao.
is 12.
Oh man.
Like I've been playing a lot of more games recently, and I was playing Lollipop Chainsaw, and I hope they don't make a sequel to that because if one you could like kind of like play and just be entertained by it, but a second would just be
I don't know. Just every time you say the name, I laugh a little bit. I can't. It's just a ridiculous sounding game.
According to public policy polling,
Oh, here
yes,
we go.
they are in fact less popular than head lice.
And cockroaches, right? Is that in there too? 'Cause,
I didn't get that far, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what percentage of people polled?
Oh,
approve
root
of-
canals and cockroaches, yes.
Now, is that in comparison to, or are those individual polls? Like someone goes up and says, do you approve of the job Congress is doing, yes or no? And then, do you approve of head lice?
Do you approve
Yes
of
or
the
no?
job?
Or
Head
are
lice
they
is doing?
asking the question subjectively, like, do you approve of A, Congress, or B, head lice?
Or which would you rather have in your house, lice or Congress?
I'd like to have a lot of people in Congress in my house.
With lice?
I'd give them lice. That seems like a suitable punishment.
I don't know.
What? You don't think so?
Yeah.
Lice is not that bad.
I'm pulling a public
Are you worried
policy
it's going to get in
polling
my
now.
house? It's going to be on me.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because you don't have hair on the top of your head doesn't mean,
You're worried the Secret Service is going to hear this and get upset. Listen, there's people on Twitter who threaten to kill the president. I'm not worried about my random threat of if Congress is my house, I hope they get head lice.
I'm sure a lot of them are balding too. It's not even.
Yeah, let's be honest. They're all old white men anyway. Like at least
Congress does win out over Ebola, though.
Oh,
What's the margin on that? I'm guessing slim.
Less than 30 points.
Wait, 30 points?
Let's all vote right now.
That's a big margin,
We can
though.
Isn't
push
that out of
Ebola.
100?
Yeah.
30 points out of 100. That's all right. I don't even know what to think about this.
what?
That we are at that point where Congress is less popular than lice.
Well, they
What do you have a higher opinion of, Congress or cockroaches? 43% said Congress, 45% said cockroaches.
cockroaches survive.
That they do.
I'm a survivor.
So it is Congress or cockroaches, so it's not like individually.
So I guess let's go back and say I'd like to see a sequel to Congress.
What called effective government?
Congress 2.0.
As long as they make it better.
However, Congress versus used car salesmen, 32% for Congress, 57% for used car salesmen.
Ouch.
Well, because at
That's
least
an insult.
at least with used car salesmen, you're going to get screwed. Sorry if there's any used car salesmen out there.
Yeah, I know a few. They would agree.
Oh.
They know the job they do.
They're a bunch of bastards.
There goes another
man.
50% of our viewership
Yeah,
or
well.
listenership.
It turns out half the people that listen to us are used car salesmen playing in the back of an old Dodge.
Because that's not
I
good.
think that we should choose Congress via dodgeball from now on.
By the way, this is coming from public policy polling. I highly recommend doing a search for Congress less popular than from public policy polling. There's a lot of cool stuff on here,
Congress is less popular than a lot of things.
including carnies.
Who doesn't approve carnies?
I don't know, carnies are kind
There's
of awesome.
probably a shorter list of things that are less popular than Congress.
Yeah, you might want to look up things that are more
Nickelback
popular.
is more popular than Congress.
You know what?
Not by much, though.
You know
not,
what?
not by
No.
much.
I have to disagree with that.
A lot
I
of
would
people-
rather listen to Congress than Nickelback any day.
Okay, first of all, a lot of people knock Nickelback, but I know you secretly listen to some of their songs.
No.
No.
Well,
I know-
Jared, yes.
I
but
know-
me, no.
I know I've said this off air. I don't think I've ever mentioned it on air, but the greatest tweet in the history of mankind came from Dave Grohl. And I can't remember the exact wording, so you'll have to look for it yourself. Something along the lines of, knock knock, who's there? Nickelback, Nickelback who? there's no punchline because it's not funny that Nickelback destroyed music.
It's a long tweet.
I'm sure he fit it into 140 characters somehow.
But the amazing part is that Lice versus Congress was a very large margin. Congress was 19%, Lice was 67%.
Well, lice we can get rid of. That's the thing.
Oh,
You know, the Congress, we're kind of stuck with them.
For a couple of years at least.
Yeah, unless Anonymous decides to do something really awesome.
Yeah, but we just had an election and nothing changed.
Everything changed.
No.
There are like 8 other people there who weren't there before. That's stuff.
see, Rob. The thing is that
I'm sorry,
it's not-
I'm hashing the politics thing up.
No, it's all right. But you see, the problem is
We're out of
right,
material anyway. Keep
Is
going.
that everyone? What?
So we're out of material anyway. Keep
The
going.
show changed to politics, by the way.
Welcome to
Everyone-
MSNBC.
Everyone thinks about it as it's not my senator or my congressman that's the problem when they're answering those questions. If you ask them do you approve of Congress, they'll say no. If you say, do you approve of the person
Of
in
your congressman or
of
your
your-
senator, then yes, they
then
do.
a lot of them will say yes.
now,
And
if the
that's
rest of
because
those
of
bastards
pork.
would vote my way,
Of what?
And that's because of pork.
Right. But the problem is that it's also because that Congress has given up a lot of their constitutional powers to the executive power in order to blame them. Like saying things like, this is Bush's economy or Bush's budget, or this is Obama's economy or Obama's budget, when really it's Congress's fucking budget, and Congress needs to take some fucking responsibility for it once in a while.
Things we don't want a sequel of. This podcast. Thank you very much, guys.
Sorry.
Wait, what was it?
no, sorry. We usually go off topic at least for 20 minutes.
No,
so
it's
we're
okay.
good.
I was actually reading something on Fox News' website. Ooh, but I saw a poll on the side saying
You went to Fox News' website?
I don't remember. It was first.
Were you blacked out drunk or something?
It was,
Were you
for
listening
the-
to Go Back at the...
it was linked on BuzzFeed. Damn it!
I occasionally go there for a good laugh, too. It's all right.
I got to know what the enemy is thinking. But I was looking at the polls on the side, and they were saying, for some reason, it looked like Obama was more popular than Congress in approval rating. And I was like, wow, even Fox News is like showing this.
It's hard to not report that when there's a 45-point difference.
I know, but you'd think
Really?
that they
Because they
wouldn't.
managed throughout the whole election cycle.
Well, my favorite was the night of the election when Karl Rove lost his shit.
No, he ran into the back room, like tried choking a bitch.
He's like, "Shut up, bitch! It ain't over yet."
He's like, "How do you expect? What are you saying, this guy? I don't understand what's going on." Sir, it's math. We added the votes, and he has more than him.
You must be wrong.
Sorry.
It's one of those things. Anyway, if basically what it comes down to is sequels have around the same approval rating as Congress.
I guess so. As far
Well,
as video
the ba-
games
the bad
go.
ones.
I don't mind ending a little bit early on this because, hint, hint, secret, we're actually going to record more than one show tonight. So I don't mind cutting it 10 minutes short. But I do want to mention before we wrap up that starting the first week of February, we're going to have a third show on our channel.
Wait, we
What's
are?
it called?
We are. It's called Real Life Friends. If any of you out there are familiar with Al Chestbreach from YouTube, he plays video games and you watch them. And that's the name of his channel, which is I Play Games, You Watch Them. And he's got like almost 100,000 subscribers, so apparently a lot of people like watching him play games. But him and a couple of friends of mine do a podcast that's pretty fun. They're going to be on our channel probably every Wednesday,
Okay.
most likely. So you can look forward to that.
We have a channel?
We do. We have us. We have Myriad, Jay's show.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
People
That's-
like
Where
us.
do you think these recordings go after we make them?
I thought they go into that board thing over there and then, like, they go off into the interwebs or something.
That's
somehow.
a personal computer.
Okay.
Okay. And yes,
Clearly,
they
he's not the one that organized.
no, they do then in fact go to the interwebs and
Okay.
tubes.
You are correct there.
And
Don't
the
clog the
YouTubes.
tubes, though. Don't clog
No,
those
keep the
shit.
tubes clear for
I thought
traffic.
you don't like spiders.
What? I hate spiders. What are you talking about? Webs. There's a giant spider above us. Spider-Man has been hanging over us this whole time.
Best spider of all time.
He really is.
Does what
Even though
a
he'd still lose to
spider
Batman,
can.
but totally different story.
Only the first time.
Speaking of sequels,
No, that's movies. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's another episode.
That's another season.
That could be
Okay,
next episode.
I did a report at school today, and I'm not going to say oral report again. But I did an
just
oral
did.
report today at school, and part of it was naming all the movies that have come out since 2000 that are superhero based, and that list went on almost indefinitely. I can't believe how many goddamn comic book movies have come out in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
and there's like 15 more of them scheduled before 2015.
The rise of nerds is coming.
That's what my report was about, actually.
And hopefully the rest of them are good because the first part of the 2000s had some really bad movies in it.
Well, no, they have some really
Daredevil.
good ones too. Well, yeah, let's not talk about Daredevil. We've had
Spider-Man 2 and 3.
the first Hulk movie,
Yeah.
Punisher,
Fantastic Four 2.
Punisher Warzone was good though.
X-Men 3.
Punisher Warzone.
And
I laughed.
And Punisher 1 was bad, but it was a quality of bad which was still entertaining.
I don't know about
It was
that.
just funny.
It wasn't Daredevil.
It
Well,
wasn't
maybe
Daredevil. Or even worse, Elektra.
you know what? I think we just found another show to
Yeah.
do
Crap.
tonight.
Bad superhero movies.
Bad superhero movies. That will be before the end of season 3.
We-
Bad
bad
superhero
and
movies we will
Superhero movies which should never have been made.
We can talk
Yes.
about the good
And
ones
sequels
too.
we don't want to see.
do. We could just turn this into a purely hateful podcast. We really
wait,
wanted
wait.
to.
We could be a little positive here and talk about the good ones, okay?
No!
Yes.
Which ones?
Batman.
Enjoy the hatred.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Come to the dark side. Phantom Menace one never should have been made.
How many Batman? How many superhero movies were made in the 1990s?
I'm assuming a lot less because they just weren't. The popularity just wasn't there. But I mean, if you really look back at the 2000s, especially in 2000, I think it was like the first X-Men movie came out around then.
Yeah, that's
And
right about the time.
There
Oh,
was
yeah.
one other one. I think 2000. When did the first Batman come out? Not the Michael Keaton
Spider-Man.
Batmans, but recently.
Spider-Man also.
Dark Knight,
Oh,
you
the
mean?
Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Well, about 4
Um,
years in between each movie, I think it was.
So probably
It
like
must be like
2002.
2005.
But if you look at the chart, like just go to Wikipedia and look up superhero movies, and they have a chart, and you just see the exponential growth, and how many characters come. They're making an Ant-Man movie. Ant-Man. Who the
Hey,
fuck knows who
I
Ant-Man
I
is?
don't know
Who
why.
cares?
I
He's
don't
very-
know why.
He's very important to the Marvel universe.
No.
Well, he
Just not
yeah.
movie
Marvel. I hate Marvel.
quality.
Well, I love Marvel, but I hate Marvel.
How important is he?
He's one of the top scientists in the Marvel universe.
Oh my god,
So-
there's so many scientists in the Marvel universe. And
Yeah.
No, but
You
in
only
the
need
Avengers and
one.
all
You
that.
have Reed Richards. What else do you need?
He's a wife abuser.
That's the whole thing.
What are you gonna do? Like
He is
have
like-
him beating Wasp for half the movie?
But this is
Oh,
the
Zing.
problem. Reed Richards,
What?
he's
Oh,
a
Zing.
scientific genius who only cares about his science, so he gets so distracted that he doesn't do anything. Then you have like Tony Stark, who's so full of himself, so he's incredibly smart, but he can't do anything. Then you have Bruce Banner, incredibly smart, but big green monster, can't do anything.
Spider-Man, incredibly poor, can't do anything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Just put him in one of their
He's the
labs
only
and
one
you got
without
the
money.
best thing
It's
right
funny.
there. But he's actually.
All right,
I would
let's-
get to Spider-Man because I'm a fanboy of Spider-Man.
Yeah, let's wrap it up right there. We're actually, I think we wasted enough time now. We're almost at an hour anyway. So, once again, thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next
This
time.
podcast was sort of about something.
It was. It was about something. Who knows what?
Balls.
Thank you for listening to our show. Please visit our website at noordinaryobsession.com, where you'll find show notes from this and other podcasts, along with our blog and Twitter feed. This has been a production of No Ordinary Media, all material copyright unless otherwise noted. As always, be kind to us and subscribe to our feeds. Good night.